It's Apple season again, and while the channel has kind of really focused much more on home theater, I think these videos in the past years still really resonated about the new iPhones, how to buy them, and stuff like that. So I figured I'd go ahead and spin one out. But we had the Apple September event, all about watches and phones. I think we'll have an October event. We still need to hear more about Macs and iPads and some other updates, but they really focus specifically this month just on the phones and the watches. Of course, we have the iPhone 15. I'm not going to do another spec rundown, but I will say that I've been rocking my iPhone 13 Pro Max here, nigh on 2 years, and so Techthusiasm will certainly be upgrading this year. I'm going to go from a 13 Pro Max to a 15 Pro Max, and my wife will go from a 13 Pro to a 15 Pro. So not only is this exercise of kind of figuring out the logistics of the trade-ins and the purchase programs and all of that, hopefully pertinent to you, but I'll be actually executing it myself Friday morning when I go ahead and put in the orders for our new devices. Again, I don't want to do a spec rundown, but I am excited to be able to continue my migration towards everything being USB-C. Tired of Lightning. I want everything on the same standard. Excited about the camera upgrades and such that are in the new phone. And I wonder actually if I'll end up wanting or potentially changing the channel over to doing all my video recording straight on that iPhone 15 Pro Max. We'll see. And of course, for me anyway, it'll be fun to play with some of the improvements that came to the 14 that move forward into the 15 as well. Always nice having the faster processor. And I will say that my 13 now, 2 years later, and my wife's as well, just don't seem to have the same battery life. They seem to actually run quite hot very often. So I think 2 years is really kind of a nice sweet spot to be upgrading devices and upgrading phones. So that all said, if you're going to buy a 15 and you've got a 14 or a 13 or a 12 or something else, what kind of deals are available this year? All right, so let's dig in. We're on apple.com here. We're looking at the iPhone 15 purchase pages. I am going to talk here a little bit more about the Pro Maxes and the Pros specifically, but keep in mind that all the numbers scale. They apply equitably to the lower model phones as well. It's just lesser dollars rather than the cost of the more expensive devices. And we'll take a look at some of the Apple purchases here, as well as the carrier plans, and break them down. So I am going to click here for an iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's cool that we didn't get a price increase. We didn't get that Ultra. We're not looking at $1,500 phones yet, thankfully. So $1,200 for a base 15 Pro Max, $1,000 for a base 15 Pro. That's equitable to last year. I do appreciate that we are getting a little more something in the Pro Max. We're starting the storage size at 256, whereas the Pro for $1,000 continues to start at 128. I have 128 in my 13 Pro Max and a lot of headroom to go. That said, if I start doing video recording more with my phone for the channel, especially, who knows, maybe into more advanced editing and ProRes, I might want some more space. I would imagine that the large majority of you out there, just like me, are generally fine with the starter size of storage on all of these device models and generally don't need to buy more. I think if you do need to buy more, you probably know specifically the reason why, and you can make that decision for yourself. But keep in mind that the return on investment, so to speak, or the future trade-in value of these devices, particularly when you're trading in with companies like Apple or Best Buy or the carriers, are not really affected by size at all. If you're reselling to somebody directly or personally, well, then maybe you would retain a little bit more of that value and you would get it back. But if you're doing these, again, Apple, Best Buy, store, carrier trade-in programs, definitely buy the entry-level storage size, because you're not getting anything back for those extra sizes. So right off the bat, of course, we can start with just a straight-up trade-in. And if we look at some of the trade-in values available here for recent devices this year, they're pretty congruent with what we've seen in the past. So $650 trade-in value for a Pro Max 14, $570 for a Pro, a little bit above 50% trade-in value. Again, you might be able to get more than that if you sell your device outright, private sale, Facebook Marketplace, or whatever, but you don't have the convenience of being able to just hand it over to somebody and walk away from it. You have to deal with people, meeting people, cutting a deal, and all of that. And so, there's some extra value to be had, but there's also extra work and effort and whatnot involved to do so. As we go down in the model years, right, 1-year-old model year, again, a little bit better than 50% trade-in, and we go down from there, a little less than 50% trade-in for a 2-year-old, 13, and onward down to the 12s, and so on to the 11s. This is an easy, simple way to go if you don't want to get involved in any advanced bill credit programs or any of these long-term lock-in kind of stuff. Hey, just buy your phone, and when you want the new one, trade that old one in and just buy the next one outright. No debt, no financing, simple, easy, clean, not beholden to anybody, and a very easy way to go. Of course, if you want to not take the cost of that new device every year, every couple years so much up front, and you want to just make some level payments and you want to be able to have the flexibility to trade it out, the Apple iPhone upgrade program remains available. We're looking at $58.25 a month. This is, again, for that base model iPhone 15 Pro Max. A little less than $60 over 24 months is about $1,400. So you're paying for the phone and you're paying for the Apple Care that's required to go with it when you go with an Apple iPhone upgrade program. But again, this gives you some abilities and some flexibility, right? Option to upgrade essentially after 12 payments. So 2 ways to go if you're that every year iPhone user, maybe. If you want to amortize it, take the iPhone upgrade program. If you're also cool with paying for, or you want Apple Care coverage and protection on top of that, or again, just do the straight up buying. Apple does also offer some other kind of financing options, either through Apple Card or through these iPhone payments. These don't come with the early trade-in flexibilities and whatnot, but it does give you the ability to spread the payments for the phone out. So let's go to the meat of the game, the carrier deals. So I'm going to go back up to the top here. It's a little easier to look at the carrier deals off of this menu here, and these will be available to purchase here very soon. So let's go ahead and select the 13 Pro Max, assuming a 2-year-old phone. Again, what I'm working with personally here. As a trade-in, we can take a look at AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. So I like the way Apple's presenting all this. I think it's the best single page to go to try to make sense of all of the different options that are available out there. And it gives us the ability to look at both trading in different models, but trading in for the 15 Pro as well as the 15 Pro Max. And what we see here is actually pretty consistent with what we've seen in the past. So if I'm trading in what is now a 1-year-old model phone, in this case, the 14 Pro Max, actually, it's $1,000 of trade-in credit. If I go to the 13 Pro Max, $1,000 of trade-in credit. And if I go to the 12 Pro Max, again, $1,000 of trade-in credit. If I go one more generation back, now the trade-in credits start to drop 20% less, $800 trade-in here versus the $1,000. But the kicker about Verizon is that your trade-in credits are not immediate. So that $1,000 here in this case, again, for the Pro Max trade-in, let's look at a Pro Max trade-in against a Pro Max phone. $1,000 in bill credits. It is amortized over 36 months. And again, we're not getting apples to apples trade-in value. You do get $1,000 for a Pro. So if you're doing a Pro to a Pro, it's a little more advantaged of a transaction because you're talking about getting $1,000 for your trade and you're buying a $1,000 phone. But when you do Pro Max to Pro Max, you're losing a little bit in the equation because you're getting $1,000 still for the trade-in value, but you're paying $1,200 based on the cost of that device. It would be awesome if, in fact, they were doing $1,200 of credits and discount, bill credits for the Pro Max instead. So the Max to Max was equitable in a way that the Pro to Pro was equitable, but they don't do that. But again, we're looking at 36 years. So in this case, we got a $1,200 purchase minus $1,000 in bill credits, means effectively you're taking $200 over 36 months. You'll be paying about $550 a month to do that. But then that, again, continues over a 36-month period. You're locking yourself in. If you want to break that contract early, you will have to pay off the remaining balance of the phone. So if you want a 2-year kind of cycle with AT&T, this is still a fairly decent way to do it. It's pretty advantaged based on the amount of value that you're getting back. Even, again, if you pay off the phone or you break the deal after 2 years, you're still getting effectively 2/3 of $1,000, which is more than the trade-in value of these older devices would be straight up. And again, it's all locked in with your carrier, and you're not dealing with private sales or private party transactions. This is pretty much what they've done in years past, and it continues to be the case here. T-Mobile actually, I would say, is quite a bit more advantaged. The numbers are very similar, $1,000 essentially of credit and discount for both of these models. And it's similar if we go back as well. So a 14 Pro Max is $1,000, a 13 Pro Max, is $1,000, and a 12 Pro Max is also $1,000 of total trade-in credit value. If we go down to the 11, they're actually a little more generous than AT&T was in this case, as even the 11 can still maintain up to $1,000 of value. Keep in mind that they have a couple different programs here, though. There are different specifics here if you have this Go 5G Plus rate plan versus one of the other rate plans. So it's not always so easy just on the surface, even with T-Mobile. But I think one of the interesting elements of the trade-in program to note is that if you are on like these premier plans, right, one of the key differences from T-Mobile to Verizon is that you get instant trade-in credit. They're not just taking that whole $1,000 of credit and breaking that out entirely. You're getting a pretty significant portion, almost 60% of that value, as instant reduction, right, instant trade-in credit against the price paid for the phone. And then the remaining balance of the $1,000 is being turned into bill credits. And a little bit even more advantage is that T-Mobile amortizes over 24 months, so you're not locked in for 36. It's quite a bit better, I would say, if you want to keep your phone on a 2-year cycle with T-Mobile versus AT&T, because you're able to realize the full value of that $1,000 trade-in credit. But again, also keep in mind that this is only for people on the Go 5G Plus rate plans, which I'm not completely familiar with all of T-Mobile plans. I have been an AT&T customer for some years now, but I suspect that that's a more expensive plan, more advantaged one. So in fact, you're still spending money with the carrier to do that. And again, all of this scales back as well to the iPhone 15 Pro prices in the same way. If we look at the iPhone 14 Pro trade-in, again, it's $1,000 against the cost of the new phone, making it effectively free. And if we roll back here, 13 Pro against a 15 Pro, again, $1,000 trade-in, making it effectively free, all the way back to the 12 Pro, which still remains free, although, of course, it's T-Mobile. So you have no reason to want to keep a 3-year-old phone effectively on T-Mobile. If you're doing these deals, you're doing these promos and these bill credit deals with T-Mobile, man, stick to the 2 years. Take the new phone model every 2 years, and essentially from that first phone, everything from that point onward is quote-unquote free, right? Let's look at the last one, Verizon. We'll start back up at the top here. iPhone 14 Pro Max on Verizon. Ooh, big difference right now initially is we're not getting $1,000 in trade-in credit. We're getting $800 for the Pro Max to Pro Max deal. Not quite on level there with T-Mobile and AT&T. However, it's a little bit of an amalgam of the two because like T-Mobile, you are getting instant trade-in credit and bill credits for a much smaller amount of the value that you're being given on the trade-in program. But like AT&T, Verizon here, we're back to 36 months of lock-ins. I would actually call Verizon's deal probably the worst of all of these because you're getting less money over the longer period of time. At least in the case of AT&T, you're getting more money even though the time period is 3 years instead of 2. I would much prefer if AT&T got it on a 2-year plan with the same kind of deals and promotions. Or at a minimum, if AT&T was going to do a 3-year promo, give more of this instant trade credit up at that $1,000. So they're all again a little bit different, and there's kind of pros and cons to each of them. If we go through some of the other models just to kind of sanity check them, on Verizon here, an iPhone 13 Pro Max still continues to maintain $800 of trade-in value. An iPhone 12 Pro Max is still $800 of trade-in value. So they're amortizing you over 36 months, but they are maintaining the trade-in value up to 3 years old of a device, so it ends up being equitable. Keep in mind, though, this other difference as well, and this happened with T-Mobile as we changed some of the things also, which is the older the model of your phone, the less of the instant trade-in credit is provided for it, and the more you get in bill credit. So that's also kind of an interesting shift. I don't know specifically if I recall seeing the carriers do that in the prior years, but that's what we're looking at specifically here today. Similar to T-Mobile as well, Verizon's deals, right, are also affected by the plan that you're on. So the bigger, the more expensive, the higher end the plan, the better effectively of a deal in terms and such that they're giving you. If you're on a lower level plan, you're not getting equitable options in terms of trade terms and trade values and all of that. So the best deals at the carriers remain incentivized to people on the higher level plans. So there you go, kind of an overlook at all of the options available to pick up the sweet new hotness of the iPhone 15. What are you going to do? Let me know in the comments. What kind of deal are you on right now? Are you going to keep it? Are you going to switch? Are you going to another company? I have to say that me personally, I'm kind of inclined just to take the AT&T deal, although looking at these deals right now kind of makes me wish that I was a little more perhaps of a T-Mobile user than AT&T at the moment. However, I do like some of the other perks that I get off of AT&T. I do enjoy the Max, HBO Max included in my program. I make use of that sometimes. And generally speaking, I found the service to be pretty good. So I would be inclined to let my 13 Pro Max go back to AT&T, take the $1,000 of trade-in credit. It may be a hard sell for me specifically to last 3 years between models. Probably a little bit more likely that my wife would make it all 3 years. I may be inclined to just pay the final extra balance off, perhaps after 2 years, and go ahead and pull another upgrade then. But I don't know, I just personally don't feel like messing around with trying to sell phones individually outright and deal with folks. There's such a deluge of devices, used devices coming to the market right now. Actual private sale values and will be fluctuating all over the place. To me, I don't know. I just like the clarity, the ease, the efficiency, and whatnot of kind of turning these things in and walking away from them. But my needs are a little bit different, maybe a little more specific because of the channel, the business that I conduct, and the things that I use my phone for when it comes to creating content and using it in those different ways, which you may not share those same requirements and those same needs. In which case, again, if you can get away with 2 years or up to 3 years of using that device, I just don't see why you wouldn't take these full-on promo maximum trade-in values. In many cases, they either fully or come very close to, again, zeroing out the effective cost of the phone. Keep in mind that even when you pull these changes or these trade-in bill credit upgrades and whatnot, you still have to pay tax. So, $1,000 phone, you have whatever your state sales tax that may be. In Michigan, that's $60 per device here. And also take into consideration that the cases never work, right, generation to generation. So you're in for a new phone case. You're going to be spending a little bit more in the process of making the changes and making the upgrades. So even that free phone probably has you going, I would guess, at least $100 or so out of pocket to be back to an equitable, usable phone, paying the taxes and buying new accessories and whatnot that may come with it. So I think that's it here. If you found the video useful, particularly this type of breakdown, understanding things, advice, hey, there's super thanks. You could leave a tip with PayPal or Venmo, and look down in the description, do some of your shopping with my affiliates that share some revenue back to the channel. I very much appreciate whatever you may do there. Otherwise, do that regular YouTube stuff. As always, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, share the video, leave some comments, and if you have questions, I'll do my best to try to answer them in the comments. But as well, if you've got some more privileged deals, some other insights, some other thoughts, share them in the comments, because people watching the video will hopefully go read some of those comments. And if there's more insights, more dialogue, more discussion, and more good advice to be had down there, of course, that benefits everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Coming back for more home theater and iPhone buying advice, discussion, and fun. Thanks.